Uh-huh. Let's see if we can see if the shade coming down got anything to do with it. Like to give a morning shout out to all of the brothers and sisters out there in social media land. This is indeed a great day to be alive. This is a day that the Most High have made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. Today we're going to pick up the fourth video on charlatans versus the Spirit of the Most High and His Word. Now, we're going to use a foundational scripture, and now we have dealt with charlatanism in Christianity. We have dealt with charlatanism in Israelite heritage, and now we're going to deal with charlatanism as it relates to the governmental establishments in this world, namely dealing with the political arena as well. Now, in Job 9:28, the Bible says that the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. But in the book of Psalms, the Bible says that the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world, and all of the people that dwell in it. So if the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the whole world, and all of the people that dwell in it belong to the Lord, how is it a scripture that said the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked? I'll tell you why. Because when you're looking at the earth is the only place in the world that houses the human being. The earth is our sanctuary, and it is that particular arena that have been given into the hands of the wicked, and has been given into the hands of the wicked for a reason. It's to bring about the fulfillment of the prophecies that are spoken by Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ. In the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew, it declares, "Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and they shall deceive many people." You see, there ain't nothing that nobody can do about that. Many people are going to be deceived. Now, how are they going to be deceived? They're going to be deceived because the earth has been given in the hands of the wicked. Those people that rule in the earth are classified as the wicked, and the structure of the world up under the political wizards, or what brings the people into another form of deception. Now, you can attach the religious constructs of this world to the wicked, because it is them that have heaped up these religious organizations. Let me read something for you. Good morning, big bro. I missed you yesterday. Got my big bro on the horn, Stefan Roundtree. Got my big brother on there. Boy, I looked at a post that you put on there, and last week sometime, it went something to the effect of that people are so preoccupied with dead things that they have no conscience when it comes to living. I thought that was bad. That was bad. So let me give you an example of what I'm saying when we're dealing with the religious constructs. Now, let me say what I'm not saying before I say what I am saying. When we're talking about dealing with the religious construct of Christianity, Israelite heritage, and Islam, we are not talking about a man's fate that he has between him and his God. You see, it don't make no difference what part of a construct you believe in. If it's causing your life to be moving in areas of faith, and then it's causing you to have a mirror that's casting a reflection on your own personal life, that's challenging you to be better in certain areas, that's challenging you and challenging your life as it relates from the standpoint of an individual, then see, you on the right road. But see, when we're dealing with these religious constructs, we dealing with the organization that houses many people that are moving according to the things that men are saying, according to the vision that men have for a particular organization. So when we start dealing with these constructs, we don't want our brothers and our sisters to take it as a personal assault, because we're not talking about the religious construct from that aspect. We're talking about how the religious construct stops a man from being able to find the will of God in his life by pledging their allegiance to an organization that's up under the leadership of a man which is a charlatan. So all of us, if whatever it is that you believe in ain't directly having an impact on your own personal life. So we want to show you how when the Bible starts talking about the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and how it is that you can be able to detect what it means when it says that, then we're going to show you this. Now look at this here. Because the Bible makes it clear dealing with religious constructs. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. And it says, "And the Lord will scatter you among all people of the earth." Now that scattering comes by way of prophecy in Luke 21st chapter, that the Messiah said, when you see the army surrounding Jerusalem, know that the destruction is near. They shall fall by the edge of the sword, and then they shall be led away as slaves and sent into all nations. And while they were out of their land, the holy city, Jerusalem, would be trodden down by the Gentiles, which are pale-faced people. So that's how we identify who is in what we call the Holy Land. And that's one of the reasons why the pale-faced people will never have peace in the Holy Land, because our Arab brothers over there, they understand that the people that occupied the land didn't have pale faces. And the Bible says that Jacob's face would never wax pale. So you had the prophecy that declared that the original people in the land would be extracted from the land through war and conquest, and then they will be scattered into all nations. So that's what it said. And the Lord will scatter you from among all the peoples, from one end of the earth unto the other. Here's the key point. There you shall serve other gods, which neither you nor your father have known. They will be gods of wood and stone. They will be gods that will be represented by wood and by stone. And the two dominant religious constructs in this world are Christianity and Islam. And Christianity is represented by the wooden cross, and then Islam is represented by the cobblestone. But see, when the prophets prophesied these things, they didn't know anything about the religious constructs. They were prophesying according to things that they would see done in the futuristic time. So even though they had no comprehension of the religious institutions, they did have a comprehension of what the religious institutions would be represented by. And the Lord shall scatter thee from amongst all the people of the earth, from one end of the earth unto the other. There you shall serve other gods, which neither you or your father know, gods of wood and gods of stone. Now, when these prophecies went out, there was no such thing as Christianity, and there was no such thing as Islam. There was no such thing. The only thing you had is you had the son of Abraham, the first son of Abraham, which was Ishmael, and then you had the second son of Abraham, which was Isaac. Both of them would fall up under the promise that God made Abraham to make him the father of many nations. So he didn't just cast Ishmael off. Ishmael will go on and bring forth 12 princes in the world, which would spawn our Arab brothers over there, which was where you would get the religious construct of Islam would be funneled through the Ishmaelites, through the 12 princes whose seed would be multiplied in the earth. And then you have Isaac, who would spawn the 12 tribes of Israel. And through their teaching in the Messiah, the wicked would get a hold to it, and then it would morph into what is called Christianity. And those would be the two dominant world religions once we came across those waters in ships. And after 2 or 3 generations of losing our culture, our identity, and our language, we would now be absorbed into religious constructs that would be represented by wood and by stone. This is written in the pages of the book. So when it's talking about many people is going to be deceived because the world, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. This is the number one form of deception, is religion in the world. Because it's religion that stops a man from being able to clock into God's will for his own life as an individual. You see? So you got massive bodies of people, you got churches all over, and you got mosques all over. But when it comes down to dealing with the individual life, the life of the individual, now we got to look at those things. That's how we can see the earth being given into the hands of the wicked. But now there's something else, because before these religious constructs can be built in the world, there must be some powers at work to bring these things about. So let's skip over here. We just gonna flow by way of the Spirit. As the Spirit give utterance, then He gonna lead us to the place where we want to be. Let's go and let's read Psalms 83 so we can see how these things happen. Psalms chapter 83. Psalms chapter 83, beginning at verse 1. O God, do not keep silent. Do not hold your peace. Even now your enemies are in tumult. Those who hate you have raised up their head. They have laid crafty plans against your people, and they consult together with those you protect. They say, come, let us wipe them out as a nation, and let the name of Israel be no more in their remembrance. Well, the only thing that can cause people to lose their name and lose their identity is if they're absorbed into... Yeah, I'm outside. My internet sometimes act funny. Okay, so, but we won't worry about that. We're going to roll right on. So now the whole key was to make a person forget their name. Now, see, here's the thing. What our brothers don't understand is that our brothers in the Americas that classify themselves as Christians, they are one and the same people. They are one and the same people that have no blood ties to this land that we live in. They are the descendants of the slaves that came from one place. But many of us that go by these, that have been in these religious constructs, don't understand there's a crafty scheme to make us all forget what our name was. Even Farrakhan, in order to make you forget what your name is. It says now the people of these different nations took crafty counsel and said, let us cut them off from being a nation. That's the prophecy of us going into worldwide slavery being fulfilled. Was cut off as a whole nation of people. What we seem not to realize is that the religious constructs have divided one people by absorbing them into these two major constructs. Nevertheless, this is totally whacked. That's okay. So it got to be something that's systematically set up. It said they took crafty counsel and they said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. That's slavery. And then they said we got to build religious constructs and we got to build educational departments in this world to keep these people from ever remembering what their name was. So you don't remember what your name was, okay? You don't remember your name because you call yourself Christian now instead of Israel. You don't remember your name because you call yourself Muslim now instead of Israel. And you don't understand that the Christian and the Muslim are one and the same. They are both brothers. They are both brothers who had came into the same circumstance and was subjected to the same wicked devices. All right, so, and through the educational departments of this world, you understand that your history begins in Jamestown, Virginia in 1619, when you got off the slave ships, when our ancestors got off the slave ships. And there, the first thing that happened is they began to beat the name and the culture out of the people to bring about the fulfillment of the prophecy in Psalm, because that's how your name was going to be removed. And when they got you to change your name, and then they brought you into different things, that our name ceased to be in our remembrance. So let me tell you something. Christianity is not a national identity. Islam is not a national identity. African American is not a national identity. Black is not a national identity. Howbeit that every other people on the planet can still come in contact with their name. The Muscovite knows that he's a Russian. You see, the white man, the German man, the French man, the Irish man, the Welsh man, the Italian man, they all know that they are Europeans. The Ethiopian, the Cushite, the Egyptian, they all know that they are Hamitic people. But the Negro knows absolutely nothing. And even unto this day, that crafty council is still at work. As you see, these people in our neighborhoods, owning the grocery stores, owning the gas stations, owning the hair shops, owning the Family Dollars, they own everything in our community. They are the same nations that done this thing, and they are the same ones in our community keeping their foot on our neck, because the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. And I tell people all the time, if you want to see the destruction of the wicked, you got to destroy their God. And their God is money. And if black people ever came to understand that where your money go, your power go, then you can get your power and your authority back in this world. When we learn how to hold on to our money, when we didn't give them people. So we're dealing with the earth being given into the hands of the wicked. So let's go read our foundational scripture. Our foundational scripture is going to be coming out of the wisdom of Solomon. And then we're going to start dealing with these governmental powers. Now, you got to understand that the greatest source of deception that the government has to use in this world are the religious constructs. And you know that the religious constructs or governmental organizations, they do not belong to God. They are non-profit organizations up under the 501c3 tax exemption program, which causes them to be able to lose the right of the things that they would teach in their books, because they no longer have the right to teach anything in their books that go against the laws that this government have established. Otherwise, they lose their 501c3 tax exemption status. So they are brought into a form of bondage and a deception, and serving now the God of this world, which is money. So, you know, the Christian man can't get up there and preach about homosexuality. He can't preach about same-sex marriage. He can't preach about the national identity and the differences that the Bible tell you about different nations of people. He can't speak against those things. God knows that it's against the law to speak against the devil's children that have been at the helm of all these things, that own all the riches. You ain't gonna go out there and speak against no Jews when you in the church. Why? Because from the church you've been taught a hell-born doctrine that the pale-faced people that Jesus said would be trotting down the holy city. You've been taught through Christianity that those are God's chosen people, and God's true chosen people have been had a foot on their neck throughout the whole time. So you can't go and teach those things. See, our brothers in Islam, they can't go and teach the things in the books of Islam where you're talking to that come into place. You understand? So when the time is right, and they ready to shoot another lie out there dealing with vaccines or viruses or stuff like that, then the church is going to be the place. The church is going to be the number one place to where they start setting up places where you can go get vaccinated. It's going to be the number one place to where they can implement the tracking system on how to track down all of these people and connect all of these people together. And we don't seem to realize. Now, all those other videos, they have flowed just smooth. But now when you start dealing with certain things, hey, boy, you're going to have to be a diehard soldier to hang in here with this video, because this video is liable to stop 20 times in the process. But we ain't going to lose our thought, because we ain't got no thought. We're just going to flow as the Spirit give utterance. So let's go to the foundational scripture in the Wisdom of Solomon. The Wisdom of Solomon, 2nd chapter, dealing with the earth being given into the hands of the wicked. It says, let's see, the Wisdom of Solomon. The Wisdom of Solomon. Okay, so it says, for the ungodly, for they reasoning with themselves, saying this, short and sorrowful is our life. See, the ungodly don't have anything to believe in, and they know that their money can't buy them more breath. And because they know that one day that they're going to die and they have nothing to look forward to, this is what they say. Short and sorrowful is our life, and there is no remedy when a life comes to an end. And no one has been known to return from Hades. Well, see, what they don't understand is that they don't believe that no one has returned from the dead, because they don't believe in the Messiah. They're completely ungodly people. It said, for we are born by mere chance. They don't believe. They believe in a Big Bang theory or some scientific experiments is how people came about. But this is their mindset. And this, you're going to see what their mindset brings them to. It says, for we were born by mere chance, and hereafter we shall be as though we had never been. He said, for the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and reasoning is a spark kindled by the beating of our heart. When it is extinguished, the body will turn into ashes, and the spirit will dissolve like empty air. Our name will be forgotten in time, and no one will remember our works. Our life will pass away like the traces of a cloud, and be scattered in the mist that is chased by the rays of the sun and overcome by its heat. Our allotted time is the passing of a shadow, and there is no return from our death, because it is sealed up, and no one returns back. So they said, come therefore, and let us enjoy the good things that exist, and make us of the creation the fool as in our youth. Let us take our fill of costly wine and perfumes. Let no flower of spring pass us by. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they wither, and let none of us fail to share in our voluptuousness. Everywhere let us leave signs of enjoyment, because this is our portion. This is our lot. That's what the ungodly say, because the world is given into the hands of the ungodly, and they control the wealth of the world because they have set up a governmental institution, which is the monetary institution that have brought the whole world up under their control. And so they said, with this money, we're going to enjoy all the good things. We ain't got nothing to look forward to. This is their mindset, the mindset of the ungodly. But there is something else that causes them to think like this. Now check this here out. It says, let us oppress the poor man, and let us not spare the widow, or regard the gray hairs of the aged, but let our might be our law of right. For what is weak proves itself to be useless. He said, let our strength be in the laws. So now you're looking at the political arena. And so the powers that be pass laws that cause the poor man to be oppressed. They pass laws that will take the widow's house away from her because her husband was in debt. They pass laws that will evict or kick the old man out on the street that have worked his whole life. They pass laws. They said, in those people that are weak, They shall be as nothing to us because they will control the court system. So everything is funneled through the political arena, dealing with the laws as a means to control the people. And one of the main ways that the people are controlled through these ideologies is through religion. He said, let our strength be in the law. That's where our might gonna be. That's where our might gonna be. Hey, and you notice how you don't have no representation for yourself when you go to court? You must hire. Yeah, you got to hire a lawyer, and you probably don't know why you got to hire a lawyer. And so that's one of the things that we're going to look at. But their strength is going to be in the laws. And so they'll pass laws that go directly against all of the people that would genuinely desire to have a good life in this world that we're living in. They said, no, we ain't gonna do that. Because these people, this is what the world call, the world have a terminology for these people. They're called oligarchs. And when you start dealing with oligarchy, you're talking about dealing with the people, the major, you're talking about dealing with the 1%. The 1% of people that own the corporations and all of the wealth in the world. Those people are called oligarchs. And now when you're dealing with oligarchy, you're dealing with a completely different mindset. You're dealing with a mindset that ain't been tampered with by no type of religion because they are the children of Satan on the earth. But they use all of these other entities as fronts to deceive the minds of people and make them think that they have a part in things. That's what you get Democratic and Republican for. And that's what we start talking about dealing with charlatans. A charlatan is anybody that comes in contact with a wicked scheme that's at the root of a thing. Let's look at our brothers in Kansas City, Missouri, for instance, in the political arena. We reached out to these brothers. We reached out to some of these brothers to try to get things done in the community. These brothers get voted for. People put them in office, and the people have a part in the say-so of what happened. And many of these brothers that go into political office, they think that they absolutely can make a change. But I'm telling you, I tell you one thing, the people, the brothers down there in the city council, and the people that's on the mayor box, and the people that's dealing with the political arena, they ought to be embarrassed. They ought to be embarrassed at the condition of the place that they said that they was going to represent. While they loophole brothers out here with foolish things that don't matter. Now, even though the video is stopping, once the video is complete, it won't be stopping. You'll have a fresh video that you can watch, you know. But they try to loophole brothers into thinking that getting together, riding down the street, honking is somehow going to stop the violence. You see, you got brothers popping up tents on corners, hanging out, holding up signs, telling everybody to honk for peace, and you think that that's going to stop something. You got people getting together in the streets, going to march and campaign, and they think that they're going to stop something. You know why? That's because they have been brought up under a spell to where they think that they have a part in these organizations that's in the world. But the organizations that are in the world are only fronts to deceive the minds of people. These brothers down there in the city hall, if you in the city hall and you in Kansas City, Missouri, you should be embarrassed. You should be totally embarrassed to even identify yourself with anything dealing with the political arena. And for many of our brothers that go into the political arena, you only gonna be there for a minute, because the first time you try to do something constructive for your community, these people are gonna find a way to pull you down, whether it's them tricking you into spending some money that don't belong to you, whether it's tricking you with some woman that brings sexual harassment charges against you, or whether it's tricking you with one of your own brothers, causing you to get an attitude or played by your emotions to do something stupid, and then they're going to snatch you right down there and embarrass you because you never was trying to do what you said you was going to do. When we ride through the streets of Kansas City, Missouri, it do not make sense. Our so-called political people in office should be embarrassed to even get in their car and pull out of the parking lot going to the neighborhood that they say that they represent. When you go right down here on Van Brunt, it don't make no sense. They're coming out that stretch of Van Brunt that you got patchwork everywhere, and they can't that the neighborhood is pitch black. Everything is dark. Won't put no lights up. Take down traffic lights in place where they shouldn't take them down. They do all of this foolish stuff, and look where all the money go. The mayors of Kansas City, Missouri, the congressmen of Kansas City, Missouri that's represent Kansas City, Missouri right now, up the mayor, Emmanuel Cleaver, That's the congressman of Kansas City, Missouri right now. You represent, you're the congressman of Kansas City, Missouri. But when you look at the condition that the inner city is in, and you look at the monies that have been funding things in Kansas City, everything have been west. Everything have been west of the black community. And everything that's coming east, coming from west to east of the black community is gentrification. Ain't nothing been done for the people that put them in office. Ain't nothing been done for the people that put them up. And let me tell you some of the things that been done. Because you got these would-be charlatans as preachers that pull up with harvesters trucks to feed our people poison food, food that will make them sick, food that will send them to the hospital tomorrow. You got them setting up at these churches with these food pantries, giving our people outdated food that's old and stuff that they know ain't no good for them. And they're all doing it. And they standing there with some falsified preeminence like they doing God's work. You ain't doing God's work. You churches in Kansas City, Missouri, you ain't doing God's work. Wherever God's power, wherever his presence is, you'll find this power there. Let me show you. Let me look and see how the 4 square block radius around every church is doing. Let me see if the people around 4 square blocks know anything about you. Let me see where the members left church and went through the community that you in and start dealing with the people around the 4 square block radius. I tell you what, they haven't. Because they don't care. That's because they don't do the work of the Most High. And you got potholes everywhere. And you got non-patch street. And you got people can't even drive and go for a ride in a nice new car without tearing their car up. And you talking about, anybody that's a part of what they call the Freedom Incorporated in Kansas City, Missouri, you're up under a bunch of charlatans. They've been around since I was a child, and I ain't never seen nothing happen to the neighborhood except it deteriorate. You ain't seen a center for children. You ain't seen the baseball diamonds put back. You ain't seen no community centers, no YMCAs. You ain't seen nothing. Out of all the money that you have, but I tell you what you will see. You will see a figurehead of a mayor get in there and don't do nothing for the inner city. Claim that they want to curb the violence. You want to stop the violence? You give these young kids something to do. You want to stop the violence? Then you start hearing the voice of people that's in the hood that got a vision for the hood, not for downtown. When you look at what they have done to downtown versus what have been done to the inner city, don't try to tell me nothing about you, no politician. You are a charlatan. You are a charlatan, and one day soon you're going to get your just reward. You ain't got no business down there with them people, period. And when you come down, I be grateful, because the last one that came down was the pastor of a church. And look how he came down. Come down at the hands of a woman that he is tampering with on his job. I thought you said that you was doing the will of the Most High. Thought you know that God said you shouldn't be out there fornicating. You know that God said you shouldn't be out there committing adultery. But you'll go in the pulpit and you'll preach one thing, but you won't do it yourself. You'll turn around and do the same thing, then cloak yourself in a wizard garment and start hiding from people. Y'all ain't gonna fool me with that mess. You see? So you're talking about another arena of charlatans, or these people, these politicians that you keep going to vote for. They're charlatans. They're gonna take the money and gonna go and live in someplace on the other side of town. Ain't gonna do nothing for the community. When you look at our white communities, you see, they're not going to tolerate that mess. They'll go down there and they'll threaten them people. Hey, look, we didn't put you in office to do this. We didn't put you in office to do this. Now, I reached out to one of our young brothers that was a city councilman, and I tried to raise that brother up and ask if it was some type of way that I might be able to connect with him and see if he could give me some advice as to how. Now, I see if he could give me some advice to see how I might go about getting some things happening that need to be done in the community. Oh, I can't get no response. But see, I know, I'm well known in Kansas City. I know a lot of people in Kansas City. So I know it ain't like the brother ain't seen the video. I know it ain't like he ain't heard about it. But he can't try to reach out and connect with me like I was trying to connect with him. So guess what? When you can't connect yourself with genuine people that have genuine spirits and pure motives, that means that you're going to be surrounded by all the wrong people. And there are going to be things that slide by the people that you surrounded by that's going to lead to your own destruction. And if you had the right people around you, then they would be rebuking anything that came against you while you were seeking to do a good job. But this is the condition of brothers that you go down there and vote for and claim that you're going to do something. Look at Sly James, the last mayor that we had. Never did nothing for the inner city. But guess what? He was the one that was responsible for getting the money to put a light rail in Kansas City so that all the white people that's moving back downtown ain't got to drive their cars. They can get on a light rail and they can ride for free. He's the same joker that's responsible for putting the bicycle lanes when you go on 35th and 35th Street and Gillum. It used to be a time that all them apartments would have black people in them, and they'll give you a ticket out there if you was double parked. But now they done came through with the gentrification, and now they have made parking lanes in the middle of the street and made the street down to one lane. Don't tell me what I don't know what I'm talking about. This stuff got to happen some type of way. When we went to these brothers like Frank White and all of these people trying to tell them about Swope Park, put the skating park back in. You put a skating park in there for the young Europeans during the skateboard days, but you can't revive the skateboard park so that black people can have something to do. But at the same time, you can keep on bringing all of these things for white people to do. You can establish the Children's Mercy over there. You can put a soccer stadium over there. You got the swimming pool over there. You can put all these things over there for the pale-faced people. But when it comes to our people, even our own brothers that we send down there and put down there in office, ain't even got the time to hear nothing that you got to say. They ain't got absolutely no vision whatsoever for the neighborhood. And you got these preachers out here doing this nonsense. You ain't teaching no word of God. You might as well close the door of the church and go sit down. Go find a way to sit up under the feet of somebody that can really show you what God's word is saying. There is a such thing as righteous indignation. The earth has been given into the hands of the wicked, and we feel the effects of the hands of the wicked because of brothers that have fallen victim to the charlatans, and they themselves become charlatans as they have to go out and now cast spells on their own people, because can't no pale face come and cast a spell on black people. It take another black person that's up under a spell to come and cast a spell on his own people. You thinking that you own some type of right, a Democrat, a Republican. You thought it was about Donald Trump. You thought it was about Joe Biden. It wasn't about neither one of them. It was about the wicked. It was about a front that had been put together to give a person a paradigm. And a paradigm is two things that operate at the same root that cause the people to be divided. And you Democrat think that you a Democrat and you got some say so. You Republican think that you a Republican and you got some say so. But loophole into a form of hatred, and that is why the Most High keep breaking their back. The more you hate people that you don't have a reason to hate, the more God gonna strip you. That's why you see the white people in the community now standing on the corners holding signs without job. That's why you see the homeless shelters. That's why you see trails and whole cities with popping up tents all over the places that used to be so-called nice places. Now all your people are outside, begging for change, building up, putting tents in forest areas. The more that they oppress the children of Israel, the stronger that they waxed. Look at our brothers. Now we ain't holding no punches. We don't pull no punches because we ain't on no popularity contest. We ain't on no crusade. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. I'll be glad to come on here and spit some fire of the word. I remember when I was preaching in church and many people would try to get me to come to their church. And then one day one of my sisters come back and say, hey, you know my daddy, the pastor of our church, and your pastor of your church, and some of the other pastors, they all got together and they came up with this thing that from now on, anytime time we want to invite a young minister to come and speak to our people, then we got to go through them. You got to get the authority of the pastor that's over him to be able to say, I already know. So you don't block me and sit me down because you can't control the spirit that's in me. The spirit that's in me gonna tell the truth of God's word. And baby, if you get in the way, you're gonna get hit with the knife, because the word is a double-edged sword, and God is no respecter of no man's person. So why should I respect you? Because you're transgressing what Jesus said when he said, be not called rabbi, rabbin, or rabbani. He said, for you only have one teacher, and that teacher is me, and you are all brother. So how you gonna loophole me into thinking that you doing God's work when you can't be obedient to the most simplistic thing, or just walk beside your brother as a brother? What do you think? What do you think? You're gonna get some type of respect from me, or one who know the word of God, as you go out and call yourself and address yourself by pastor this, by bishop that, by apostle that? You ain't no pastor, you ain't no bishop, you ain't no apostle. You're a sent one, you're a charlatan, you're a magician that's trying to lord over God's people and put yourself up on some type of pedestal, and you ain't getting nothing done that you claim to be doing. You're talking loud, but you ain't saying nothing. For when you start doing what God said, he said, let your good works show before men, and they'll give your Father in heaven glory. How many people in Kansas City, Missouri do you see giving the Father glory for this church over here? Giving Father glory for building the establishment for the homeless over here. Giving Father the glory for assuming the responsibility of widows or fatherless children. How many people do you see praising the pastors in this town for the work? How many people do you see praising the as long as you don't come over here, you won't be on there.
I'm trying to find our papers. I need to call this.
So that's what it is, you know. That's what it is. And there ain't no popularity contest. It don't make me no difference, because I know ain't not one of them going to come back and tell me that I'm lying about nothing, unless you want to get the rest of the clothes that's still left on you ripped off of you. And so I just sit back, and I just sit back, and I just sit back, and I just sit back and wait. I just sit back and wait. I just sit back and wait, because I know what's going to happen. You're coming down. You're coming down. Because you ain't going to be no charlatan over the Father's people without the Father watching it all. He's seeing it all. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the good and the evil. The eyes of the Lord go to and fro through the earth. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere. And such is this wicked man that says, nobody will see me, and the darkness will hide me, and these four walls shall cover me. He said, but what that man don't know is that the eyes of the Most High are 10,000 times as bright as the sun. Come on, politician. Come on, preacher. You better recognize what the Most High told Ezekiel. And let's run over there so I can show you what the Most High told Ezekiel. Yeah, see, you don't see something. You don't want to deal with certain things. You don't want to deal with certain things. Let's see what the Most High told Ezekiel. See what the Most High told Ezekiel. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Let me find it. This is what you got coming. Since they always want to say that they church is God's house. Okay, your church is God's house. Let's see, okay, this church is God's house. Now the glory of the God of Israel had gone up from the cherub on which it rested, and to the threshold of the house the Lord called to the man clothed in fine linen, who had a writing case on his side, and said unto him, go through the city, through Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads of those who sigh and groan over all the abominations that are committed there. You see, the Most High have put a mark of his spirit on the forehead of all of those whose hearts are breaking because of the things that they see going on in the communities that they live in, amongst the people that they're dealing with, because the people don't understand that they're up under charlatans. And when you go and tell the people, it's hard to get them to understand because they have had a spell cast on them. But there is an assignment for the true men and women of the Most High. Never mind, forget about jumping on a plane going to somebody else's city when there's plenty of work done in your own city. Forget about all that stuff that you see your brothers out there doing. Compasses, sea and land. Do you think that God ain't got people in that city? What make you think that you so important that you now got? That's why I said, you know what? It's cool to go and fellowship with people, but the travel thing is overrated for me, because ain't no need in me going somewhere when God got somebody down there already that's telling you the same exact thing. So it's something wrong with these things that we are doing, and there's some other motives that are behind it. Let's see here. Let's go. It says you put a mark on the forehead, and it says, now, he don't tell you, because listen, God ain't no respecter of persons. He don't care nothing about you being no old preacher. He don't care nothing about that. He don't care nothing about that, because you can claim to be something that you are not. But when it's your time to receive your punishment, he don't care nothing about it. And he don't care neither that you young and that you don't know and that you've been operating out of ignorance. He don't care about that neither, because there ain't no need to operate in ignorance when there's people out here that can help you understand a thing about the truth. The little children as well, because they are up under wicked people, and they themselves will multiply the wicked in the earth, according to the scripture that declare my people are destroyed from a lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also will reject you, and because you've forgotten my law, I'll forget your children, and thou shalt be no priest to me. So it's children being cut down right now because the wickedness of their parents, and what their parents are going to do is reproduce the wickedness as that child grows up. So the Most High said, I'll cut the old man down that won't serve me. I'll cut the woman down that won't serve me. I'll cut the young man down. I'm going to cut the children down. He said, and then you begin at my sanctuary. Where is his sanctuary? I tell you where his sanctuary at. His sanctuary ain't in a bunch of these places that they call churches. His sanctuary ain't there. His sanctuary is not at the churches on 95th Street. His sanctuary is not at the churches on Raytown Road. His sanctuary is not at the churches on 435 off 71 Highway. His churches are not on Woodland. His churches are not on Agnes. His churches are not on Prospect, not on Bell Fountain, not on South Bend. Those places don't belong to him, because if they belong to him, then you'll see his power manifested in the community that they live in, and they would be raising up God's people. Don't tell me what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. The people in a 4-block square radius don't even know the people that's in these churches, don't know nothing about the pastor. He ain't got time enough to go and walk door to door and shake nobody's hand and introduce himself and say, here, we right here, and we right here. If you need anything, we right here. We right here doing the work of the Most High. When you go to these jokers, you don't see that. You see they congregational members coming from Grandview, coming from Lee Summit, coming from Raytown, coming from all these places, only to go and sit up under a charlatan. Go back to where they came from with a made-up mind that they ain't doing nothing that the Most High told them, have been completely turned off, scared to go in your own community, scared to deal with your own people, scared to deal with the very people that the Messiah said that you should go to. Isn't that this what the Messiah said? I have come. The Lord have anointed me this day. If you belong to the Lord, you have received the anointing. The Lord have anointed me this day, first thing, to preach and glad tidings to the... Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. First thing he said, he anointed me to preach glad tidings to the poor man. And you say that you're serving a God. You're going to church on Sunday. You're going to church on Wednesday night Bible class. You're singing in the choir. You're on the deacon board. But you don't want to have nothing to do with the poor people. Oh, I don't go in the hood no more. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't be over there. You ain't got nothing to do. But that's what you're supposed to be anointed for. Those that carry the Spirit of God ain't limited to no place in this world that they can go. They can go to the lowest places of the neighborhood. They can deal with the drug dealer. They can deal with the alcoholic. They can deal with the pimp. They can deal with the prostitute. They can go in the nightclub. They can go wherever they want because they carry the Spirit of the Most High. That's why it was given to them in the first place. But we make all of these excuses when it comes to us doing what we are supposed to do. And you go back to your place in Grandview or Raytown or Lee Summit, the place that God gave you the job, the place that God gave you the money, the place that you riding in a car that God gave you. You go back to places that God didn't tell you to take your stuff and pack up and move. God told you what he told you as weak, but I prayed for you. I didn't pray for you to run off, to tuck your tail and run off or run over. He said, but I prayed for you that your faith fail you not, that when you get converted, you go back into the place that you came out and you begin to strengthen your brothers. Strengthen your brothers. How you going to strengthen your brothers? When you now become afraid and you're running around with this on your mouth. Oh, that's ghetto. Oh, that's ghetto. But you go to Lee Summit with the same dead mind and the same trifling spirit. Don't tell me I know what I'm talking about, baby. I move around in this town. I've been to the houses out there where you think that you're safe now, where you got your kids in a better school system, where they can get indoctrinated, come out and pretend to be somebody else. I've been to the houses out there in the white folks' neighborhood where everybody's lawn is cut nice and neat and yours got 2 feet grass, weeds all over, and you don't even want to pay the man to cut the grass the way it's supposed. I've been in some of the houses, carpet nasty, carpet stained, food all over the floor. I said, well, what the hell did you come out here for? If you're not going to take care, you should have stayed in the hood. If you was going to still be trifling, you could have stayed in the neighborhood and took the extra money and helped somebody that had a mind to do something that was right. Tell me nothing. Tell me nothing about Cobbins. Tell me nothing about Lindsay. Tell me nothing about Ford. Tell me nothing about these so-called big-name preachers in Kansas City, Missouri that have cast spells on people. Don't tell me nothing about these politicians. Don't tell me nothing about them. Because when they start moving by God's power, men will start praising. The Bible says, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in power, the people mourn. Don't tell me nothing about these things. And I dare any of them to come back. Any of them come back and think that you want to open up a book. Think that you want to open up a Bible. Bring your people with you. Matter of fact, invite me to your church to come and speak. I ain't going to speak against you. I ain't going to cast you down. But we are going to preach the word of God like it's supposed to be. I guarantee you, ain't not one of them. And I done been all over the world since I left church. I thought that the church was the platform that the Most High would give me. But I had a vision that I would go out of the church head first and not be welcome. And when that happened, little did I know that the Most High would send me all over the world dealing with this book. And it was greater than anything that I ever experienced. The ideology and the vision trying to fuel some man's vision of what he think God desires. You done been all over the world preaching the word of God and see the people get blessed. But you can't go in no door in your own city. And I'm all right with that because I understand the reasons why. And guess what? When we came out of church and we took to Facebook, word spread all over the city. Oh, Reverend Milligan, he done flipped out. He on Facebook preaching. He on Facebook preaching. Facebook was new. Facebook Live hadn't even got started yet. The videos would be made on the phone, from the phone, and then uploaded to Facebook. But that's what it was. Ridicule, ridicule. But guess what? Just last year, when God closed the door of these churches, what did you think these would-be pastors did? The same thing that they made fun of Brother Milligan for doing. Now they all try to gravitate toward Facebook. But it was one thing that they wasn't counting on, that Facebook is a platform of millions of people from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds, from all different mentalities and understanding, and they wasn't prepared to deal with the onslaught of the Hebrew Israelites that knew the Bible. They wasn't prepared to deal with the Islamic brothers that knew the Quran. They wasn't prepared to deal with that, with their mediocre vacuum-packed, freeze-dried sermons. So now they have to go on a crusade and to figure out how their Facebook page can be set up to where only the people in their congregations can get on them. But let me tell you something, baby. When the Spirit of the Lord, God have not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power and a sound mind. We don't fear nobody. It said that when the church was scattered upon the persecution of Stephen, the whole church scattered. Everybody scattered except the disciples. Why didn't the disciples run? Because the cloven tongues of fire had set on the disciples, and they received power to stand before wicked men. We don't fear nobody. We don't care where you come from, what church you come from, what background, what ideology, secularism, monotheism, atheism, witness, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. It don't make no difference where you come from. We ain't running. We ain't dodging no train wreck. If you say that you believe the word of God, you say you serve God, then we ought to have some common ground. So we got to get our people to understand that what Jesus said was going to happen is happening. And it's happening in mass numbers because of all of the men that say that they are his representative. You ain't represent. See, we say we represent Jesus, but Jesus said, the Lord anointed me this day to preach glad tidings to the poor, to open the blinded eyes, you see, to loose them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Most High's freedom, his liberty. Freedom for what? What did Jesus come to? He came to abolish the law of sacrifice that had men bound. And he said, we're going to the world to proclaim to all men the acceptable year of the Most High's freedom, that you can come from up under a charlatan and go in your closet, and the God that sees in secret is right there waiting on you. Blessed is the man that walk not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Most High, and in his law, he meditates day and night. And it say nothing about your organization. And that's why when you go to look at these churches, I can go in one of them right now, and you can randomly pick or stand their members up, and they have absolutely no comprehension of the Bible, can't understand the simplistic principles of the faith. Henceforth it was declared in Hebrew, everybody that is on milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness. They are unskillful because they ain't never learned the thing that they should have learned while they were sitting up under them charlatans, and open up the eyes of a blinded brother. They can't come out into the world and proclaim the acceptable year of freedom to their brother because they themselves are bound. You can go in there and you can ask them, what does salvation mean? What are the simplistic principles of faith? What's the outcome? What's the overall outcome of what the Messiah meant to accomplish? What is the overall? Oh, they'll tell you things like, well, Jesus fulfilled the law, and you don't understand. Yep. Don't have no comprehension at all. No. Everyone that's on milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness. But strong meat belongs to them who by reason of use have their senses exercised to be able to discern bullshit when they see it. And you can't allow nobody that's on strong meat, that's able to break down the word, that's able to make you see things that you did, able to challenge you, able to knock your falsified misunderstandings down. Well, the Lord he said he shall give you pastors after his own heart that'll feed you with knowledge and understand. Yeah, but they don't tell you that that's not referring to you because you've been cut off. It's referring to what you're going to do in the future. Well, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Yeah, well, why your people ain't getting out of their bad situation? Because Christ ain't going to give them the strength to go against him. And if God put you in the place, he put you in a place to learn a lesson, and ain't no amount of strength he going to give you to climb out of his will. See, you got so much stuff that have been out of context. Why they take one scripture and try to build a sermon around and make people think whatever it is that they want. This is the condition, whether they want to identify with it or not. Why they try to teach a falsified message that God done away with Israel and reached out to the Gentiles because they've been taught that they are Gentiles. So Paul had become their God. Never mind the fact that Jesus said, I have lost none that the Father have given me. Blessed are those that believe, but even a greater blessing on those that believe and see not. Know this, how thousands upon thousands have believed in me, Father. And there will be millions upon millions upon millions that are yet to come in. Even those that are not of this fold. And you're talking about God chose the church over Israel. But you forget about the God that you serving. Paul himself had that he should fall. God forbid. I also am an Israelite, born of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. You can't cast off God's people. And why would you want to cast off God's people when you yourself ain't got nothing else to use? You can't preach. Now, if you think that I'm just being hard on people or hard on these churches or hard on these preachers, you ask yourself this question: what can they use out of the Bible that does not belong to the life that Israel? Yeah, I told y'all the video was going to stop about 20 times. What can they use in the Bible that does not belong to Israel? If you took Israel away, what sermon would they be able to preach? What analogy would they be able to paint? You see, you know it's a falsified, hell-born doctrine of replacement theology because you're trying to put yourself on top of the people, Israel, as though Israel don't exist. And then you got big name preachers like Bishop T.D. Jakes and Creflo Dollar and them now coming out to fool with the little bitty old folk. Well, I'll tell you a story. There was a story that said there was a mighty great king that came against the city, and the city was powerless to protect itself. But there was one poor wise man in the city that came against the king and delivered the city, and the city never even remembered the man that done it. So we serve notice on all of you so-called big name preachers that you might tell your people, stay away from that dude on Facebook. But I'm going to tell you something. One is greater with the Most High than thousands of you without him. So you ain't going to come around talking that nonsense. You better repent. You church leaders better repent. You so-called charlatans of a politician, you better repent. You better repent. You see, when you really genuinely start doing the work of the Most High, you put people around you that can deal with the demons that you got to face on a daily basis. But you know why they don't want to do it? Because that same spirit is no respecter of a person, and it'll cause you to pull yourself together. Where do you line up with the Most High? Because you can't represent his people in the political arena and leave God out of it. God is the one that said, thou shalt call his name Emmanuel, wonderful counselor, Prince of Peace, mighty God, everlasting Father, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. The kingdoms of this world must become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ. We don't do this so that we can blend in to the world. We do it so that the Spirit can go in and take over every aspect of this life. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to pull down the stronghold. Christianity is a stronghold that had our people subjected to nonsense whose lives have never been better. They raised up, they lived, they died, and still in the same condition. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to pull down the strongholds of Islam, the one that would be represented by a rock that will fall out of heaven. The strongholds, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They are mighty through God to pull down the strong and cast down the imaginations of men and every high thing that exalts itself against God's knowledge. I bear you churches record. I bear you Muslim, you Christians record that you have a zeal of God, but it's not according to God's knowledge. You have altogether gone backwards, seeking to establish your own righteousness. Ain't no man listening to what God said. But the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to pull down the strongholds of religious institutions in the political arena and cast down the imagination of the politician who says he's going to do good for the people, but only want to line his own pockets up, to cast down the imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against God's knowledge, because you can say it, but you won't do it. Thou hypocrite, you'll make clean the cup on the outside first, but what you should do is clean the inside. We'll pull down those strongholds and cast down those imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against God's knowledge, and bring it into captivity by the Spirit, every unclean thing, and putting it up under the feet of the one that you say that you believe in. Judgment gonna begin at the house of the Most High. And then y'all always want to gloat about this is God's house. This is God's house. This is God's house. Well, if that's God's house and I'm God's child and that's my father, I ought to be welcome in his house. Who gave you the authority to rule over my father's house and then outcast one of his children? The last thing I thought is, yeah. See, last thing I thought he was our father. This ain't God's house and his son ain't welcome. This ain't God's house and the Spirit ain't welcome. This ain't God's house. No, this is your house. That's why you got churches now being called after people's names. This is such and such memorial. This is such and such third. This is the house of worship. This is the center. This is the this. This is the that. But you won't see nothing that's dealing with the church anymore, because it ain't a church. It's a governmental institution up under 501c3 tax exemption. Now let one of them jokers come up and say that they call me a liar and tell me that your church can't be called a church no more because of 501c3. It got to become a worship center. Well, I'd like to know what you're worshiping in there, but I don't have to know. You ain't got to tell me. I already know. I already know what you worshiping. You see? And see, I don't run. I don't hide. I tell it to your face just like it is. When I used to get the brothers and we go to the outdoor events to play the music, And one day they said, we want Brother Milliken to do the speaking. When I opened up Deuteronomy chapter 28 and then start dealing with Jeremiah chapter 23 and had one of the deacons of a particular church reading the scripture and had my brother reading the scripture, had the Spirit give utterance, we bring the scriptures up and they would read them. But we're going to show what happened to the people in the Bible and why it is that we don't know these things. And before I started, I gathered all of the older men about the Bible. Do you feel that the Bible is the truth of God's word? They said, yeah, they always in agreement. I said, well, what do you feel about this? Supposing that you see something in the scripture that you ain't never seen before, how you gonna feel about that? Suppose you hear something you ain't never heard and they all agree, well, if it's in the Bible, we gotta believe it and we gotta do it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted their opinion of what they were going to do. Because what they didn't understand is that when you put me up, I wanted them to understand that when you put me up under there, one of the greatest challenges of God's word was about to come aimed directly at you. It was going to be like a Mack truck or a locomotive coming. And I wanted an upfront commitment that when you seen these things, that you wouldn't tuck your tail and run. So when my brothers start reading Deuteronomy 28 about the blessings and the curses, and we start pulling the cover off the people started coming out of the restaurant across the street. The people started coming out, sitting on their porch. The people started gathering around to hear the word of God, lay claim and tell them who they was as a people. And then when we had the deacon to read, he started at Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 1, and he said, woe unto the pastors. You see, because he is a respecter of persons, and he didn't want to deal with the issue that the pastors was part of the greatest responsibility for the condition that our people are in. And he closed this Bible, walked over 10 feet, and then start pointing at his clock and telling the other brothers to cut me off, which they did, and they cut me off right there. But little did he know that a couple of months later, we would get the call to go and play music on the street again. But the old men wasn't through with Brother Milligan yet. The old men said, we like where it was going, and we want to hear some more from him. So the deacon ain't here yet, but we're going to put him back up there. And they gave us the microphone, and we had our brother to open up the book at the same chapter, Deuteronomy 28, as we start trying to tell our people that they weren't Gentiles, that they were the children of Israel into Africa and was sacked at the hands of the Hamites, put on slave ships at the door of no return on the banks of West Africa, sailed into North, Central, and South America, where they came in the cotton field and auction blocks, where they had their names beat out of them, where they were set on fire, ostracized, criticized, children fed by alligators, fathers and mothers eaten by sharks, and the crowds began to come again. And the crowds began to come again. They begin to come out the store. They start driving up. The cars started stopping because they was hearing things in the Bible that they had never been heard before. And we had one of the brothers that was one of our members at our church, and he was reading the scripture. But good God Almighty, he started worried about what his pastor would think. What do you think about the pastor up against the word of God? You're reading out of the Holy Bible. You're reading things that you ain't never been taught. You're reading things that you ain't never been seen. And he was ashamed to see that the things that we were teaching out of the Bible, what if my pastor see what I'm, who gives a damn about your pastor? He's a mortal man, can't add one breath to your life, can't make 1 inch grow. He ain't got no power over the day of his own death, can't fix his own problem, can't fix his own weakness. But they came and they begin to crowd around as they would hear the word of God by his spirit, teaching them about the forgotten about people, the people that have been taken crafty counsel on. And as we start pointing, you can see the crafty counsel. Look at the Asian man that own all the hair stores that's poisoning our sisters' hair with hair weave. Look at the Chinese man that's feeding our people rats and cats and all kind of animals in replacement for chicken and things. Look at the Islamic man that's owning all the gas stations. Look at the East Indian man that's owning the grocery stores. Look at the Hamitic man that's owning the car lots and in the medical field. These are all the same people that Psalms 83 talked about, that they took crafty counsel. And we started showing them how when you look in your neighborhood, these same people are here. But look at your churches. What are they doing about it? The slaughter in the city. You don't see the preachers. You don't see the churches. You don't see the congregations. Well, where are they at? Where are the people that say that they're supposed to represent the Most High? And while we was doing it, oh, guess what happened? Here comes the deacon that cut me off when we was over there a few months earlier. Yeah, here come the deacon. And he got his head deacon with him. He got his head deacon with him. Both of them been in church 40 or 50 years. I don't knock the old man from where they come from. You see, because every generation receives a new revelation from the Most High. But the Bible speaks about the old man despising the young man. Because when your time is up, you have to give place for the new revelation that's coming through the new generation. I don't bother our young brothers unless I see them in error. Because I understand there's going to be a new revelation of God's word released with every generation. And the old deacons came and they sat there, they stood there, and guess what? We took the Bible, and as they read the Bible, we start taking the Bible and asking them questions. What people can identify with this? And the old man said, ain't nobody can identify with that but us. And we asked him, and I made my way all the way to that deacon because I wanted him to understand that you can't step up against the power of the Spirit when God is doing his work in his word. It's a difference when we preaching something that's by our own understanding. But when we're using the word of God, see, we're going to ask you questions because we need to know. The Bible says in John 3:34, he who God sends speaketh the words of God, for God give not the spirit unto that man by measure. We don't have to have the Bible to speak the word of God, because we move by the Spirit. The Spirit's job is to bring back to our remembrance what the word of God said, so that it can be put in its rightful place. But it also says, John chapter 8:47, he who is of God hears God's word when it comes. How is it that the one can be up there, claim that he preaching God's word, but he can't receive God's word when it's coming? Oh, you and your father, the devil, and the lust of your fathers you'll do. He was a murderer and a liar from the beginning, and that's why God cut him off in the first place. Speak now unto the shepherds of Israel. Tell them, because they have fed themselves and didn't feed the flock. Tell them that my people were sick and they didn't go see them. Tell them that they were shut up in prison and they didn't go visit them. Tell them that they was broken and they never came to their aid with the same bread, the money that they carried. Tell them that you left them out there with no understanding, with no comprehension, unable to defend themselves according to what they believe, because they got a simplistic faith in the Messiah, which is a great thing, but they should have some word of God down in them, because they got to learn how to contend for the faith. And because they can't contend, because they can't rightfully divide the truth, because they've been sucking on your titty and you ain't got no milk in it, because of that thing right there, the Most High said, thus as I live, said the Lord, I shall cause the shepherds to cease from feeding my flock, and they will no longer feed themselves. So baby, you best beware. One day is coming soon. Judgment is beginning at your house. Your church is coming down. Your people are coming out of there. Come from within her. Come out of her. Come out. Your people are coming down. They're going to return to the Most High, because he said it. I will cause you to cease, and I, as I live, said the Lord, I will search for my sheep. I will gather my sheep. I will feed them what they need. I will show them what my will is for their life. I will raise them up from the broken places that they have been in, and you're going to starve to death. So people can feel however they want to feel about it, but it's appointed to every man once to die, and after this it's going to be judgment. It's going to be judgment. And you brothers get up there, you're totally is operate on the inside of you, but you won't let the Spirit have his way. So you got to have your notepads out. Yeah, but Israelite brothers too. You got to have your books out, because you're a charlatan, and it's a specific thought that you want to plant into the minds of the people. But the prophets didn't have no books. They didn't have no notepads. They would speak what the word of God said. This I formed before I formed you in your mother's womb. I knew thee. I sanctified thee. See? Before I formed thee in your mother's womb, I knew thee. I ordained thee. I sanctified thee as a prophet. So you speak all that I tell you to speak. But Jeremiah didn't have no Bible in his pocket. He didn't have no notes written down. He didn't have no footnotes. He didn't know what he was going to say. So Jesus came along and told him, take no thought in what ye shall speak, for I will speak through you in that hour as I see in my spirit. But you can't operate by those principles, because you ain't obedient to the Most High. So you're writing down everything that you think that the people need to hear, and you ain't got the courage to stand up with no Bible, with no notes, and just wait on the Spirit to start speaking through you what the Spirit wants the people to hear. So he told Jeremiah, speak everything that I tell you. He said, this day I have made you. Don't be afraid of nobody's face. This day I have made you as an iron pillar and as a brazen wall and a rod for the backs of the church leaders, of the religious leaders, a rod for the back of the political leaders, a rod for the back of the rich men of this world, for the poor men of this world, for every person on the planet. He said, only be not afraid of their faces. They shall come out and fight against you, but they will not prevail, for I am with thee to save thee. The Lord said that. That's what my name is. My name is Jeremiah ben Yehuda, moving by the same Spirit. Don't need no notes. Don't need no book. Don't need no pen. I'm operating up under the Spirit. Whatever the Spirit say, he ain't gonna speak of himself. He gonna tell you what thus said the Lord. And even though I ain't got no book, you take the words and you can find it written in the book. That's how that go. But you church leaders, you pastors, you preachers, you prophets, you evangelists, you Islamic leaders, You political leaders, you politicians, you first-class flunkies behind the children of Satan, you better find a way to repent. Because judgment is about to be at your house. And most of all, you brothers and sisters that have become a part of these things, you better find a way to come out of them. You don't have to be afraid of what's going to happen. Because once you try something, then you'll see that the Most High have already made the provisions. And sometimes the Most High wants to deal with the individual man as an individual. But in order to hear the voice of the Spirit, every other voice has to stop. You have to stop the voices of men and get in a place of solitude and consecrate that time and say, Father, I'm confused, but I genuinely love you in my heart and I want to do what's right, but I'm confused. Can you start speaking to my heart by your Spirit and then guide me to a greater understanding of your word so that I can rest secure? See, that's how I came from up under men. One day I was at a car wash and I was washing my car and there was a young brother there. He had a nice pretty BMW and he was doing this thing, and I'm a beautician. I'm doing good too, you know what I mean? But he was playing I was playing gospel music, and then he peeped over in my stall and he said, "What's up, brother? You saved?" And I said, only thing I could say was, "I'm trying to be." And that haunted me because I couldn't understand how my daddy could drag me to church every Sunday, day in and day out. And I couldn't say with the firmest conviction that I was God's child. So I pulled back and I started to read the word, started dissecting everything that I could get my hands on so that I can come to the point. I prayed about it. Lord, I need to know that I'm saved. I can't walk around unable to be able to say that I'm your child. I know trying, but I ain't learned. It let me know that I had not learned the right way. When you start learning what you're supposed to learn, there is a conviction that comes within you that you know beyond the shadow of a doubt. I can feel God moving in my spirit. It's like fire shut up in my bones. And as I start beginning to dissect everything that I would read to try to understand the Bible so that I can know within myself. See, I had to know within myself that I was all right. Somebody out there feeling just like I was feeling back then. You've been a part of these organizations all of this time. In the Israelite heritage, you found out you Israel, but you know you're Israel. And you're trying to learn the Bible, but you don't know what your purpose is. You don't know what God's will for your life is. That's because can't no man show you that. You've been in church all of this time, and you're going and you get a good feeling, and you get some chills every now and then, but you're still confused. You can't jump out there with the firmest conviction and know that God is pleased with your life. But see, that's where I was, and I know that there are many other people that are in that same spot. So what you got to do is you got to get some quiet time. You got to consecrate some time. You got to set some time apart. You got to cut the TV out. You got to cut the radio off. You got to enter into a quiet place where ain't nobody around but you. And you got to be able to talk to the Most High about your weaknesses, about your frailties, about the sins that you have committed, about the things that you have done wrong. You got to be able to get in a place to where you can thank Him and see clearly all of the wonderful things that He have done for you, all the time that He have spared your life, all the time that He have been overshadowed and protecting of you. And while you in that quiet place, the Spirit will start showing you, hey, I know about that. I know about that. But guess what? I've been protecting you this whole time. Ain't no perfect people in the world. There's something wrong with everybody. Level of learning that we're going to one day get to. There's always a greater level of challenge. But see, when you get in that quiet time and you start communing with the Most High about your life, not about your wife's life, not about your children's life, not about your brothers and sisters' life, not about your church members' life. When you start communing with the Most High about your life, then you can hear the voice of the Spirit speak. But when you look at what your brothers do, He said, do not do what you see. Say you don't do what they do. Don't do what they do. He said, for what they do things to be seen of men. And they make pretense and make long prayers in the synagogue. He said they make pretense. Oh, and they come to him with vain repetitions, vain repetition. Oh, I've been bowed down lower than I ever been taught to bow down before. Oh, my heavenly Father. You see, he said, don't do what they do. He said they can't get no breakthroughs because you can't go and pour out the innermost details of your heart while you got all these ears around listening. You can't go and start praying to the Most High about secretly being on crack and secretly being on alcohol. You can't start praying about the Most High about cheating on your wife when you're in a congregation where you got people listening. You can't start praying to the Most High about somebody being done fondled you when you was a child and somebody molested you and you're struggling with your manhood or your womanhood. You can't start praying about those things in public when people are around. But you got to be able to get to a place that is quiet so you can start talking to God about all of those things, and the Spirit will come in and start dealing with you. And that is how you know, because when you come out the closet, you are like Clark Kent that just walked in there, but come out as Superman, wearing a cape, able to deal with the things that you've been through, knowing that you're forgiven, knowing that God loves you, knowing that you got a great. As long as you sitting up under some man, flunking behind some man. Oh, I'm his armor boy. You ain't no armor boy. You're a bad boy. And you're a flunky to an unrighteous charlatan, and you don't know it. But God got some great things for you. If you can raise up and come from amongst them jokers and get in the closet, it is Jesus that told you, when you get ready to pray, enter into your closet. And when you have shut the door, the God that sees in secret. You see, he said, when you get in the closet and you shut the door, the God that sees in secret shall reward you openly. That's what Jesus told you to do. He told you, don't be like the hypocrites who go into the synagogues and make pretense with long prayers and vain repetitions. That mean they praying the same thing every time they get down on their knees. When I stick my sword in the sandy banks of time, never to study war no more. And every day would be glory, glory, and howdy, howdy, and never goodbye. He said, you get out of here with that mess. Don't you be like them people. He said, you go into your closet. And when you go into your closet and you can empty yourself, because prayer is not for God. Prayer is for us. Because in this life that we live in, we get built up and contaminated with so many things of this world. Prayer is our opportunity to empty ourselves out, to cast our cares upon him because he cares for us. And we empty ourselves out. And then God gives us, fills our hearts with new desires. If you're a brother or sister and you can't say, I know what God's will is for my life, I'm going to tell you why you don't know. Because you're sitting up under men. But I dare you to do what the Messiah said and go into your closet. Because the Messiah said, I'm going to establish a new covenant, not like the one that I made with your forefathers where we had to depend on men. He said, but this covenant I'm established, he said, I'm going to put my law and my word in your inward parts. That's the spirit that's in us. He said, and no longer will another man need to be responsible for teaching another man. All men will have the opportunity to know me from the least to the greatest because I am indwelling on the side of them. You see? And so if this is you, you got to understand what you possess so that you can do and follow the instruction that the Messiah said. Take heed that no man deceive you. Don't you let these men deceive you. Don't you let these men deceive you. That you got brothers out here that's preaching in these churches and these bigger churches that they got men walking around them like they got bodyguards and all that. You ain't, get out. You ain't important. You ain't important. And see, I remember some crazy stuff. You ain't important. It's crazy stuff that used to happen. And I don't call no names or nothing like that. But I remember, it was a couple of particular people, you know what I'm saying, that when they come in the room to get ready to go to the pulpit, the whole congregations would stand up. I was like, really? I ain't standing up. Then people are always looking at me crazy. Oh, well, you know what? We ain't got enough money. We need to collect some more. And so every now and then you hear somebody in there say, well, pull some more out of your pocket. And then you got brothers looking at me like it's something wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. If the joker ain't content with what God gave him, then let him pull the money out of his own pocket. Seeing how he the only one that ain't put nothing in the plate in the first place. But see, this is the conflict that I had when I was in church. Because you don't curve no spirit on the inside of me when I'm reading you from discernment that you're already wrong. No. God said don't be like them. They're hypocrites. They'll say it, they won't do it. Jesus tell them to go in the closet. They don't have no prayer life at home. They'll go. Wait till you get to church. You ain't prayed in 6 days, but you want to be seen, so you jump down there and you're praying. Jesus said, don't be like that. Jesus said, don't be like them. They like whitewashed tombs. They pretty on the outside, but on the inside they full of dead men's bones and all kind of extortions. Of the cup clean first, that the outside may be clean. So Jesus telling us how to do things one way. Jesus told them, don't be called pastor, preacher, rabbi, rabbin, all these things. He said, why? Because you're all brothers. You're all brothers on the same level, and you only have one teacher, because I'm the appointed heir over everything. God, who has sundry time and diverse manners in time past, spoke to the fathers by the prophet in these last days. He's speaking to us by his son, who had been appointed heir over all. So the next time the video ends, I'm going to end the video. And once again, like we said, once we run the video back, it'll all come together. It won't be breaking up. But Jesus, everything Jesus told them not to do, they doing. So he said, don't do what they do. They say it, but they don't do it.